So, our story starts on a farm. Everything seems quiet. There's Oliver, the father, along with his son Henry and the younger boy Tucker. They're just doing a simple chore, herding the sheep back into their pen. No big deal, right? But a little distance away, there's a shadow of resentment. It's Angus, Henry's older brother. He's got a broken leg, so he's stuck inside and just watches the others working. You can practically see the jealousy burning in his eyes because Henry is doing such a good job running the farm. Angus is so consumed by rage that he grabs an axe and stomps over to Henry's favorite ram, Dudley. A little while later, Henry is riding his bike back to the farm and immediately notices something's wrong. He calls out for Dudley, but the ram is nowhere to be found. He heads toward the sheep pen, and that's when it happens. Right in front of him, pieces of Dudley fall from the ceiling, shivers. Henry is absolutely terrified. Then, out of the shadows, Angus appears, wearing the skin of an animal. Henry is completely freaked out by this horrific prank. Just then, Mrs. Mack, a farm worker, arrives with terrible news. Their father, Oliver, has died in a motorcycle accident. What a tragic day. Fast forward 15 years. Henry has moved on, living in the city, but now he's heading back to the old farm. That childhood trauma has left him with a serious phobia. He's terrified of sheep. Meanwhile, two environmental activists, Experience and Grant, are also making their way to the farm. They suspect that some dangerous, secret experiments are being conducted on animals in a lab there. Henry reaches the farmhouse, and the place feels deserted. He goes to his dad's old office and starts looking at some old photos. Suddenly, he feels a gun barrel pressed against his back. She's clearly on edge, but when she realizes it's Henry, she apologizes immediately and gives him a big hug. Next up, Henry meets his brother, Angus. Angus called him back because he wants to buy Henry's half of the farm. Henry hesitates. This farm is all he has left of his father. But Angus says he'll give him all the money right away and takes him to his office to write the check. On the other side of the farm, the activists, Experience and Grant, have found the secret lab. They see a scientist, Dr. Astrid Rush, and her team bringing in a strange cargo. While the team is distracted, Grant sneaks closer and sees 3 cylinders. He quickly snags one and runs off into the woods with Experience. Dr. Rush spots them though and sends her team after them. Once they stop to examine the cylinder, they see what's inside, a genetically modified organism, a mutated creature. Jackpot. They have the proof they need to expose the farm owner. But Dr. Rush's team is closing in. Grant runs ahead, trips over a branch, and drops the cylinder. It shatters, and the creature inside disappears. Moments later, that creature, a small, mutant sheep, emerges from the shadows and bites a piece of Grant's ear off. Grant manages to fight it off and throw it away, but he's been infected, and he starts feeling dizzy. Back in the office, Henry signs the papers to sell the farm. He asks Angus what he plans to do with the land. Angus talks big, says he's investing in agronomic science and is going to revolutionize farming with a new project. With the deal done, Angus basically tells Henry to leave. But Henry decides to visit Mrs. Mack before he goes. She gives him his father's old trophy, the one he won for an old sheep shearing contest. She also tells him that his childhood friend Tucker is now the farm manager. Tucker and Henry are happy to see each other, and Tucker drives Henry out to the fields where the sheep are kept. Unbeknownst to them, that small mutant sheep has reached the main flock. It makes a strange sound, luring a little lamb close. The lamb checks out the weird creature, and bam, the mutant sheep savagely bites the lamb's mouth. Later, Tucker and Henry are driving when they see the injured lamb standing in the road. Henry's fear of sheep flares up, and he can't bring himself to get close. Tucker says it's fine, and they both get out. Suddenly, Experience sneaks up to the truck, grabs Tucker's rifle from inside, and demands they take her into the woods. She asks where Grant is. Henry and Tucker have no idea who she's talking about. Henry, trying to be helpful, suggests his brother Angus might be able to help. When Experience realizes Henry is the brother of the farm owner, Angus, she gets furious and threatens to shoot him. Turns out she doesn't know how to unlock the gun. Tucker, smooth as can be, offers to unlock it for her, but then cleverly snatches it back. Realizing she's been tricked, Experience runs off to find Grant. Meanwhile, in another part of the woods, the infected Grant is acting strangely. The protector of animals is losing control due to the infection. He sees a small rabbit, and in a terrifying moment, he suddenly eats it. Henry and Tucker return to the truck and run into Experience again. This time, she apologizes and explains she broke into the farm to stop dangerous animal experiments. Before he can question her further, Tucker notices smoke coming from the house of a farmhand named Mike. They rush over and find the kitchen on fire and the house totally trashed, like a brutal fight took place. Tucker searches for Mike, but instead, the injured lamb appears, now much more dangerous, and attacks them. They hide in a room where they find Mike. His throat has been completely ripped out. The lamb rams the door, creating a hole. With no choice, Tucker shoots the lamb with the rifle. Shaken, the three try to leave the house, but there are now many other sheep wandering outside. Thankfully, they don't seem infected, but Henry is still paralyzed by his fear. Experience helps him, telling him to just focus on her voice. He listens and slowly moves toward the truck. As they reach the truck, an infected sheep manages to jump in and tries to bite Tucker. Henry and Experience immediately jump onto the truck bed, and Tucker speeds off to escape the crazed animal. Henry grabs a chainsaw from the back of the truck to save his friend, but the ride is so bumpy that the chainsaw falls out onto the road. Tucker fights off the sheep, but it bites his leg. He manages to free himself, but the truck goes out of control and heads straight for a ravine. Henry, Experience, Tucker, and Tucker's dog all jump out just as the truck plunges into the lake. Luckily, they all survive. Now, they must get to the farm's main building to figure out what is happening. At the same time, Grant is wandering around, completely out of it. The infection is transforming his body. His teeth are changing, and white hair like a sheep's wool is growing on his face. He's becoming a sheep-man hybrid. Grant crosses paths with Angus in the road. Angus, angry to see him there, gets out to confront him. Grant suddenly bites Angus and then runs away. Meanwhile, Henry, Experience, and Tucker are making their way to the farm. But Tucker is getting worse. He takes off his shoe to look at the bite, and he's horrified. His foot is starting to look less human and more like a sheep's hoof. They need a cure, or Tucker will fully transform. Things go from bad to worse when they see a huge flock of infected sheep running toward them from a hilltop. Tucker orders his dog to go home, and despite his injury, he runs with Henry and Experience. They eventually reach a secret lab. Inside, they find a dead sheep hanging evidence of the disturbing experiments going on here. Soon, they run into Angus and Dr. Astrid Rush. Henry tries to explain to his brother that the sheep are infected, but Angus denies it. He says he's only creating genetically modified sheep and that his plan is to present this new species to investors to grow his business. Henry desperately tells Tucker to show his foot, but before he can, Dr. Astrid stabs Henry with a tranquilizer and he collapses. Henry wants to help his friend, but Tucker tells both him and Experience to run. With no other choice, they flee the lab and the infected sheep chase them toward a deep pit, the dumping ground for the lab's failed experiments. Angus catches up to them at the pit. Henry begs his brother for help, but Angus coldly refuses, saying Henry is a complication to his plan. As the sheep get closer, Henry and Experience slip and fall into the pit. Their only option now is a long tunnel at the bottom. Experience lights a candle to help them see. At the end of the tunnel, they spot a small exit they can crawl through, but Experience is claustrophobic, terrified of tight spaces, and refuses to go in. Henry uses a moment of connection. "Remember how you helped me face my fear. Just focus on my voice." Experience takes a deep breath, conquers her fear, and starts crawling. Right then, the sheep jump into the pit and start biting at Henry's leg. Experience reaches the end of the tunnel and pulls Henry out. The sheep gets stuck. Henry tosses the candle back, setting the sheep on fire. Experience thanks him for saving her life. They escape the tunnel and clean up in a nearby stable. They hear a strange noise, and when they check it out, they find a terrifying, huge human-sheep hybrid staring at them. Experience notices it's wearing clothes, just like Grant's. She calls his name, trying to get him to recognize her, but Grant is gone. He violently shoves Henry away. Henry and Experience run, and Henry quickly slams the stable door shut, trapping Grant inside. Back in the lab, Tucker's transformation is speeding up. His teeth are becoming like a sheep's. Dr. Astrid pulls out the antidote, but she wants to wait to see if Tucker fully transforms first. In a few minutes, he looks just like Grant. The doctor injects him, and it works. The doctor is thrilled and plans to take a sample from Tucker to improve the cure. As she leaves the lab, she sees her assistant being devoured by the infected sheep. She runs for her life, but her foot gets stuck in the mud. As she tries to get up, an infected sheep attacks her. Angus returns to the farm to prepare his presentation for the investors. He looks sick, His face is pale, and the bite wound on his hand is getting worse. But he proceeds, bringing out his prize creation, a specially bred sheep named Oldfield. The investors are initially impressed, but Oldfield starts screaming, and within seconds, dozens of infected sheep storm the area, attacking everyone. Angus grabs Oldfield and runs. He bumps into an infected sheep, but to his surprise, it just ignores him and walks away. Angus looks at his wound. His injured finger has now turned into a sheep's hoof. He realizes the infected sheep won't harm him, and he's becoming a hybrid himself. Henry and Experience arrive at the scene of the chaos. Mrs. Mack pulls up in her car and drives them all back to the farm. They try to call for help on the kitchen phone, but the lines are cut. Suddenly, Grant crashes in. He knocks Henry out. Henry tries to grab Mrs. Mack's gun, but it's empty. Grant attacks again, but Experience grabs a piece of wood and spears Grant through the neck, knocking him out. They barricade the doors with furniture. Mrs. Mack says there's another phone in Angus's office. Henry goes straight there. In the office, Henry is stunned to find Angus hiding with Oldfield. Henry is furious. He blames his brother for everything. He grabs his father's old rifle and aims it at Oldfield. But Angus blocks him, admitting he was bitten and that he won't let his DNA die. He's also becoming a hybrid. Mac and Experience they have to run, grabbing his father's old trophy on the way out. Outside, the farm is surrounded. They see Angus and Oldfield running for the private airstrip. Henry realizes Angus is trying to escape by plane, and if he does, the infection will spread everywhere. He has to stop him. He looks at his own hand and realizes he must have been bitten during the fight with Grant. He's been infected too. Knowing he could be a danger to them, he tells Experience and Mrs. Mack to take the car and leave. Experience kisses him and tells him to come back quickly. Henry puts on a fur coat to blend in with the sheep. He uses the trophy to kill one sheep to clear a path, but he's exposed. Surprisingly, since the virus is now in his system, the other infected sheep just ignore him. Mrs. Mack and Experience come back to help, driving the car to run over the sheep. Angus is trying to start the plane, but he's already transforming. His face and hands are messed up. Henry reaches the plane, and Angus attacks him. Henry tries to reason with him, reminding him that if he hadn't made mistakes as a child, they would have a great farm together. Angus doesn't listen. Henry manages to loop the trophy around Angus's neck, but the hybrid is too strong. Angus tosses Henry aside. As the plane starts turning on the runway, Tucker's little dog runs out and barks, distracting Angus. The plane swings around and slices Angus into pieces. Henry looks at his infected hand. Just as Angus's pieces start twitching back to life, Tucker drives up in a Jeep and shoves a syringe of medicine into Angus's mouth. He gives Henry a dose, too. Henry feels terrible for a moment, then he's fine. Tucker says he got the antidote from the lab, and they can cure everyone. Angus is alive, but horribly injured, so they leave him. They decide they have to gather all the sheep into the pen and give them the limited antidote. But here comes Angus again. Even though he's wounded, he tries to control the flock. But since the virus is gone from his system, the sheep no longer recognize him. They swarm him and literally eat him alive. After Angus is gone, Henry lights a match and throws it into the sheep, burning the entire infected flock. The next morning, Henry and his friends round up all the hybrids and give them the cure. Grant is okay, but he feels awful about eating the animals. In the end, Henry decides to stay on his father's farm with Experience and Tucker. Everything is peaceful. It doesn't bark anymore. It was infected too, and that's where the story ends. Creepy, right?